Welcome back to the Authenticity Calling podcast. I'm your host, Ralitza Spassova, and I am so grateful to be joined today by a very special guest, Dr. Rita Gupta, who is has a business called Renewed Health, and she is a pain reprocessing coach and so many other things. Rita, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the Authenticity Calling podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to have this discussion with you today.
Absolutely. And we were talking a little bit before we started recording about kind of your journey and how you got to this place and really where you came from. So I just wondered if maybe we can open up with sharing a little bit about kind of what you do, how you do, but then also how did you get here? Because I know so many physicians and so many healthcare workers are still kind of stuck in this world of this like burnt out healthcare system, kind of going against their intuition, going against what's really true to them, just to show up and do the thing that they signed up to do. But it feels out of alignment, and that leads to burnout, and that leads to like so many downstream effects and disconnection with their families, and just like, yeah, so
Yeah.
many things. So I just what you shared earlier, I apologize for jumping in and being like, just wait, let's share this on the podcast. But I feel like so much comes through authentically the first time you share something, and there's just so much power behind our listeners hearing themselves in some of that to be able to say, oh my gosh, there's another way. Like,
Yeah.
what? So I would just love if you don't mind sharing a little bit about that.
Yeah, it would really be my pleasure. And when you said burnout, like that really resonates because I went through that, and I think I really never understood that I was burnt out. It wasn't because I didn't care, it was because I cared too much. And I realized like that's what we're all going through. Like we care so much. We come to this profession because we want to be of service. We want to help people. And when we feel like we're not effective enough, that's when we burn out.
That's right.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's not all like we cannot carry all of that responsibility because we work with patients, but we also work in a system. And we
Hmm.
also work in a social system and a cultural system. And I mean, there's this whole landscape, and we're part of that. So for us to put all the blame and responsibility on ourselves, it's like, it's not even right. It's not true.
It's not true. I love that you're sharing that. So if anyone's listening right now, it is not all on you. You are not alone. You're not meant to do it all alone. That is definitely a massive misunderstanding, and I think it's part of the training. Like I went and taught medical school, and after I graduated, I actually didn't end up going into clinical practice, and I saw a lot of that sort of, you know, we call it toxic, but
Yeah.
that's sort of like that, lone wolf mentality when really wolves run in packs. And that's what we're meant to be in healthcare, is supporting each other to better serve our patients, right? And to be able to really truly show up first and foremost for ourselves. I also found that when I was doing my inner deeper work, a lot of like codependent patterns came up, and I was like, oh,
Yes.
this is actually probably quite common for healthcare providers. It's almost like, thank goodness, because otherwise we wouldn't have a healthcare system
Yeah.
and, providers doing what they do. But there really is, I think, a massive calling to sort of be that healthcare hero.
Yeah.
And we're looked at as like having this cape, but we actually don't come with these superpowers to be able to navigate that responsibility.
Yeah. We're just human being human, and it is true. Like there's somewhere along the way we adopted this lone wolf mentality, and the truth is we're all interconnected, and we work so beautifully together when we can support and understand each other. But when we feel like it's our job to fix it, it's like we're so disconnected from ourselves, and then we're unable to really tune into what we need. And then that's kind of perpetuates the burnout. Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
but I
Yeah.
think awareness is so powerful. I know it's not like we can't stop at awareness, but once we are aware of it, because there's a lot of shame that goes along with it too. Because, I know for you and me, like we wanted to be of service. We want to like help people. We want to save people. We want to do whatever we can. Our needs became secondary.
Absolutely.
And to put our needs in the forefront feels almost shameful. Like, okay,
It's
well,
selfish.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, wait, you say you want to help others, but you're like, asking for a day off or, you need to call in sick because your child is sick. Like, does that mean that you're not dedicated to your field? I mean, I felt a lot of shame about having needs, about being human, and it
Mm.
was until I really legitimized, like, hey, I have to do all the bodily functions that my patients have to do. Like,
That's
this is
right.
like a requirement. I didn't choose it.
Yeah. Yeah, shame is a big thing. And when we talk about shame as an energy just by itself, it's actually the lowest on the vibrational frequency of emotions that we can have. And we walk around with it all day and night. And then we take on all of the patients' burdens and their energy and, our team not working well and like the drama between the nurses or the MOAs. And then there's just so many things that
Yeah.
physicians take on an everyday basis, and then it's like you're worried about your kids but you never see them, and then your family, and then there's just so many. And I know that physicians too, and especially women, I've heard this so much, that they are sort of like the cornerstone of the family
Yeah.
because no one expected you to be a physician, or maybe it was held as, as a goal, but then once you become it, it's like you become everything to everyone
Yeah.
in your family unit, and then not to mention in the community. It's like I have had so many Bulgarians say to me, "When are you going to become a doctor so we can come see you?" And it's like I just know that my phone is never going to stop going off. I'm like, that was part of the resistance I had. Like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I don't know what I would do
You're
with
like,
my
how many
time.
hours are in a day, right?
Exactly. And those are the things we don't talk about. Those are the unspoken expectations on us that I think really it makes a huge difference to say out loud, because then it's like, oh wait, of course I'm burnt out,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yeah.
of course I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so curious, what did it take for you? And you said that you were working in the system, so maybe if you don't mind sharing just a little bit about that, what was your aha moment as you were there and you were like, something's got to change?
Yeah, I wish I had like the best aha moment, but the reality was a health crisis, and
Mm,
that really was the only way I could wake up. I
mm,
was suffering for a long time, and it finally got to the point where my body just gave out on me. It just couldn't
yeah.
do it anymore, and I was pretty much forced to take a break.
Mm,
Now, looking back on that, I've learned enormous, volumes and volumes of what I wouldn't have done if I go
yeah.
back. But I just can see how ingrained it was in me that I had no other
You
option.
had to keep going.
I had to keep going
Can we
because,
talk about those things? Like, if you were to go back to the younger version of you, or that version of you that was like starting to go down the rabbit hole, at what point would you catch yourself, and what would you have said to yourself? Because I think this is actually really powerful for our audience and our potential clients in the future that we can work with and support
yeah,
to not actually go down that rabbit hole and to get themselves out before they crash and burn, because we hear this so often.
mhm,
It was a health condition that I was forced to stop. And it's like, if you don't make those minor adjustments by canceling a half day of clinic or a full day of clinic so that you can actually nurture yourself to come back whole and overflowing, you will be forced, and many more people will suffer when you have to actually cancel or hand it over to a locum for months or a year, or
mhm,
like it's not,
definitely.
that energy is not, it's not forgiving, and it will catch up to you, right? So I think, at what point and what were those patterns and habits early enough on that you could have actually made a difference for yourself?
I think it was the little things. It was like taking that half day to go making a doctor's appointment because I was not feeling well and I knew I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling well. But I think even before that, there was had to be some recognition that my needs they mattered and they were telling me information that was really important. because I used to dismiss a lot of my needs. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we all dismiss like using the restroom or eating lunch or taking a sip of water when we're parched, those kind of needs. Those were just, that's residency, right? We don't attend to ourselves at all.
We
But
learn how to sleep standing. For those of you who
yes,
haven't been through
exactly.
medical school, on the
Exactly.
40th hour, you learn how to sleep standing.
You're basically like, yeah. I remember my chief resident told me, get horizontal as often as you can. And so I would just hear his voice and I'd be like, okay, there's a bed and here's me. I'm going to lay down any chance I get.
Especially through obstetrics rotations, right? Like that was the time that you never got. Yep. I was pregnant during my obs. That's the funny
Oh,
part. Yeah.
wow. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine.
Oh,
Like,
I had so much shame. The attending I was working with actually told me, please go lay down. You're growing a human. Go lay down. You're gonna be there
yeah.
soon. And I did, and I missed a delivery at night because he didn't call me intentionally. And then in the
Mhm.
morning, my attending just let me have it, but she didn't know I was pregnant. So like this was a big
Oh,
scene.
okay.
And so she just, oh man, I felt so terrible that he didn't wake me up and I wasn't there. And then I did the recording and she was like, what happened? Did the phone break down? And I was like, no, it's done. Like it was just, we were just used to kind of going. And so,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I would love to just dig into a little bit more of those sort of symptoms or those moments where you could have caught yourself.
Yeah, and I'm really sorry you went through all that too in your training and being pregnant, and I can't imagine just how hard it must have been on you. But it sounds
Thanks.
like you had a good chief resident, so
Absolutely.
she was looking out for you, or she was looking out for you. Yeah, I think it's those micro actions, taking off the half day or prioritizing a need or realizing like, you know what, I have to cancel my clinic today. I'm not going to be able to do this. And
Hmm.
not feeling like, I mean, it's so hard to cancel 20 patients, right? Like,
Hmm.
that each of those patients might have waited weeks. Like some
Yeah.
people said, "Oh, I waited 2 months to get an appointment with you," and it's like you're canceling them. It's like that burden. Like,
Hmm.
but we have to listen to ourselves because we know we're physicians. We take care of other humans. We know what we need too. Like if we were a patient in our situation, we would tell the patient, you know what? You need to like stop working right now. Like we
Yeah.
would tell them, but we for some reason don't tell that to ourselves. And then we have unfortunately a healthcare system that, I don't want to use the word martyr, but it kind of rewards you for really pushing through. Like it shows sacrifice and dedication and, oh, look at Rita, she's showing up, she's working hard and she's not complaining
Yeah.
and it's like I wanted to be that person. I
Yeah.
wanted
It's
to,
like there's burnout awards.
yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Burnout award. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
How can you self-sacrifice so much that we can celebrate you? I know it's funny, it happens in my world too now. I work as a transformation partner for Doctors of BC, representing a family practice services committee, and a lot of the meetings that we have, I'm just very mindful to not continue because we want it to be physician led, but that means physicians need to be involved. And so, we really prioritize scheduling around physician time. But then what does that even mean? Because physicians work from 8 in the morning until 5 p.m. already,
Yeah. Or
obviously
what is
over their
finishing
schedule on
time?
both
7 at
sides.
night? Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of dinner, they're on the committee. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's either like 8 a.m. meetings, which again is right before clinic, and then sometimes bleeding into clinic time, and then that means they're going to stay later, or it's, 6 o'clock at night when they're already exhausted from the entire day, and then your day becomes like, yes, sure, you get paid for it, but this is overtime, and no one sees it
Yeah.
as overtime. And so you don't feel like, and everybody wants the system to change, so of course they're willing to commit the time, and because we're productive and effective in our work, they're grateful to have a space that actually takes what they have to share and does
Focus.
something
Yeah.
meaningful with it. So it's really hard to say no to that, but I'm just very mindful of like, this is continuing to burn out the people in the system. Like,
Yeah.
we've
They're
got to
trying to come
figure
up
out a
with a
way.
plan to help burnout, but then they're burning out while trying to create the system. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's no payment for taking a half day off,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So, we kind of look at those kinds of things too. But and I'm just, at the point of being burnt out. I think if people could even identify, how did you know? What were the symptoms that you were feeling? What were the signs that you would say, you're seeing in a colleague? Because I think physicians were not very self-aware until it's too late. But I
Hmm.
think before that time of actually even having to take a half day off and cancel patients, I would say hold a half day in your calendar once a month that you have the afternoon off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Preventatively rather than reactively. So if everyone could do that, that'd be amazing. But and what are sort of those moments of recognition of like, okay, this is becoming a little bit too much. Like I'm getting to the burnout, but I'm not quite there yet. Like you're not ready to take a half day off and cancel everything, but
Yeah.
you're almost there.
Yeah, I think it's natural not to like be overjoyed to come to work every day. I mean, we all are gonna have our ups and downs.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I really feel like I have a lot of empathy for my patients, and I really feel like, I went into family medicine because I really loved having a relationship with my patients. But when I could feel that I was not with them in the visit, like I couldn't attune to them. Like I couldn't,
Hmm.
like I wasn't creating that therapeutic space because it took me a while to really understand this. But after training, I would see like people come on my schedule and I would be like, wow, I just saw them, or what am I going to do for them today that I just didn't already do, or what am I going to do different? It was only until like maybe 4 or 5 years after, being in practice, I realized people come to you because you bring them this therapeutic, relationship. You just by being in their presence, you're offering healing because they trust you and they
That's right.
feel that energetically, like, okay, well, she cares about me, she's here for me, like I'm being heard, I'm being validated. And honestly, that has been like the most important and gratifying and transformational aspect of being a physician, is to hold that therapeutic space. And I know
Mm-hmm.
other disciplines do it as well, like therapists and psychologists and any type of healing practitioner. So when that space was getting compromised,
Mm.
I I knew something was shifting in me. I was losing my capacity to really be there. And I'm not talking about overriding myself. I'm talking about like really being who I am
Mm-hmm.
and being there for them
Mm-hmm.
without feeling like I'm depleting myself. And I was
Mm-hmm.
starting to feel like every visit was actually more depleting
Mm-hmm.
too. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it felt like. And I
Yeah.
know people have different terms for it, which I'm sure you've talked about in your work. But I really felt like when that gets compromised, then that's when the system is breaking down.
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's actually the moment of catching ourselves before we get to the point of no return. And that's a really beautiful awareness. And when we talk about the healer, truly a lot of physicians are called to doing this work because there is an internal healer, the energetic part that we don't talk about in healthcare. We're
Yeah.
like ignorant at best to the spirit. We don't talk about the
The
soul, we
physical
don't talk
body.
about the spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like we need to start talking about that in conversations and in training, right? That energetic management. How do you do that self-care practice and routine? I think
Mhm.
that needs to be in medical education, like right from the very beginning. And there's even a few programs. I think there was one, especially in the United States, they actually came and shared at our university, at our medical school. Actually, when I
Mhm.
was teaching, they came in and that was part of their pitch to, have our students apply for the residency. They said, we actually have self-care days for our residents. They go out together to the beach, they do all these different things. And I think it needs to be part of the integrated training. Otherwise, again, where do we learn to become so self-sacrificing is through the training.
Yes.
You have to, you become, the scut person for everything,
Mhm.
and you take that on into your practice actually.
You
So
do.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember that your needs matter. I wrote it in big, bold, like letters because I think that's the most important thing. If anyone takes anything away, your needs matter. Whether you're a physician or you're a lawyer or you're like a stay-at-home mom, it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. Your needs matter, I think, is something that we really need to remember as human beings, that we are human and we can take that grace and that time and that focus and really recognize that it is the most selfless thing that we can do
Yeah.
to nurture ourselves so that the people around us don't have to do it for us when we can't do it for ourselves anymore.
Yeah, we're letting other people off the hook by taking care of ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we don't know what our needs are sometimes because we're so focused on just getting through. And that's why, we need hobbies and things that bring us joy as well, because that
Mhm.
helps us understand what we need better.
Absolutely.
There's really
Absolutely.
no time in medicine for that. Like, we had hobbies before medical school. I think we all did, but I know I lost my hobbies along the way. And it's only now that I'm really understanding that what role that plays in just
Hmm.
my own understanding of myself.
Absolutely. No, and taking time to do that. And again, it does take time away from family sometimes, but
Yeah.
then you come back so much stronger and more energized and passion. I talk about passion all the time because, my program is P3 Alchemy. It's passion, purpose, potential, but it really starts with our passion. That's that part of our authentic alignment. That's that part of that once we slow down and we connect with ourselves and with our spirit, and from that place we get inspired. And
Yeah.
that inspiration, it's like that, we talk about energy can't be created or destroyed, but it really, that source energy can only be cultivated within ourselves when we sit still enough to actually notice, what am I passionate about? What do I love to do? And then when we start to do it, that fills our cup and then we can overflow. And I don't think we talk about that enough. And I know you went down the path of like, now you're doing other work, you're doing this work with people. So I would love if you don't mind sharing, like, what was that transition for you? How did you go from health condition into, coming back full circle? And you're still practicing, you're licensed and you're practicing, correct?
Yes, yes. But I am focused more on mind body medicine now.
Yeah.
I studied a lot about mind body medicine at the fellowship program I did in integrated medicine as a 2-year program. And when you talk about passion and how that's like a self care and it fills us up, that is absolutely true. And I just feel called to do this work because of my own health illness. I'm working with a lot of people with chronic illness, and it has really been filling up my reservoir. I mean, it's just because I can help people feel better. And when I see them shift and I see them have more joy in their life, or, maybe have that difficult conversation that they need to have, or leave that toxic environment in some situations,
Yeah.
it is just, it's my self-care because it's like me being able to make meaning out of my own journey. And I sometimes think that's what we're all called to do. We're all called to like take our learnings and share with others so that they can benefit, and then we all carry it forward, and then they carry it forward. So it's just beautiful. And that's what I really think self-care is finding that passion. And maybe that is what happens in burnout too, is
Hmm.
that we get very institutionalized and we get focused on, metrics and
Hmm.
RVUs, and I'm not saying I'm against all that, but at the same time, we're dealing with a person in front of us. We're not dealing with a diagnosis. We're not dealing with a code. We're not dealing with a metric we have to chase to make it under control. We're dealing with a person.
That's
And
right.
it's like that's what medicine is. And
Hmm.
I really feel the healthcare system has to change. I don't have all the answers, but just
Yeah.
having more people like you out there and having opportunities to connect, and that you're giving me this opportunity to share my voice, and others can hear it, and you have programs. It's like so uplifting, and it lights me up. So
Thank you. Thank you for showing up for it, because not everybody makes the time and not everybody takes that, invitation. There's a lot of resistance because I think there has also been in healthcare, like, this woundedness of, I have to stay a lone wolf and I have to suffer alone. And it is a place where, and it's a calling. When I was in a massive cycle of burnout, I had 4 jobs teaching, actually. This wasn't even in healthcare. It was the jobs that I took after healthcare. I was teaching med school and high school life science and GED and all these different things. And at the time, again, with that pattern of, self-sacrifice, giving into a very toxic, like codependent narcissistic type of relationship, and just being
wow.
in all of that, finally 2020 hit me like a ton of bricks. But it was the biggest blessing ever, because it made me actually physically move countries. But also, I was in the bathtub and I just noticed my nervous system was like, hadn't been regulated in years.
Yeah.
And I just noticed I couldn't focus on a podcast for more than 20 seconds. I'm like, something's not right.
Yeah.
I looked in the mirror at myself and I was like, I don't even recognize this person.
You had that
But
moment.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that come back to yourself moment. It was now or never. And a few times on my journey, I've heard, if you're not going to do the thing that you're here to do, then it's going to be time to go. So you better
Yeah.
shift now, or there will be a health crisis, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've heard that in the shower a few times on my journey, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I hear you. I need to slow down. I need to shift. But one of the big things that I heard, and thank you for highlighting the value of, healthcare providers, and especially those that do feel truly connected from a spiritual place as a healer, to come together and to actually do this work and really be focused on the energy that moves through in our connection with our patients. And that is sometimes so much more important in healing than the diagnosis, than the medication you're going to prescribe, than actually, like the patient following up and following through, and having a holistic model of care. That community matters so much more than your hypertensive medications could ever support you in lowering your blood pressure. Like, there's just so many parts that we can implement that have nothing to do with medications, that actually support us coming back to ourselves, listening to our bodies, being able to know when to slow down, when to speed up, when to sleep an extra hour, when to, eat nutritious, healthy food. And it's just certain that, that sort of bypassing. We want a quick fix for everything. We want a pill to just, snap us out of it. But the truth is, we all have a healer within. And so for me in 2020, and I'm just going to take a moment because it's just so inspired and it's right there and it's what you said, but Up to Health Global is all about bringing healthcare providers that really see themselves as part of a holistic model, and, certifying healthcare providers, certifying healthcare teams in this method of actually putting ourselves first, holding space for ourselves and others, and coming to this place of alignment and being, serving our passion in a way where you have an entire team that's looking out for you and making sure you're not going to burn out. They're
A
making extra space
sustainable
and time
way.
for you.
Yeah.
It's sustainable for
Yeah.
everyone, right? And so when we hold that space for ourselves, we naturally show our patients, right? It's not even about anything you can say or prescribe or really do. It's just by leading in that energy, they then can take that and they can become the
Absolutely.
healer within themselves. And
Mhm.
then we're not dealing with a diseased population. We're really dealing with a well population. And even, sharing the Pygmalion effect of actually holding our patients as whole instead of
Mhm.
diseased makes such a big difference energetically to how
Yes.
they see themselves, and
Mhm.
then the downstream decisions and choices they make.
Yes.
If
We
you see
have a
yourself as a
lot of power
diabetic,
as physicians.
yeah.
We're role models, and the way we speak to them, language, and just, but it's also we have to embody that. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we don't embody it, it's not going to come through. So
Absolutely.
self-care is really not selfish at all.
It's not. It is the most selfless thing you can do. Yeah. And I
Mhm.
know, again, in that codependent model, being a martyr, right?
Yeah.
Martyr yourself to self care, right? Like, if we could
Yeah,
do that,
exactly.
right? If we could do it that way and actually see what a gift it is to our patients and to our families and just to everybody around us, to be a little bit more self um, sufficient in our
Yeah.
own care for ourselves. I think that's really important, to take that priority.
Yeah, because when I was ill, I felt like such a burden to my family, to my husband, to my daughter. And, now that I look back, I'm like, self-care is actually like the most selfless and altruistic thing I can do for others because it's
Absolutely.
putting others off the hook. Like,
That's
I'm
right.
taking ownership of myself.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even in relationships, like I had a conversation with Dr. Rebecca Reed. She's doing it's like a dating platform
Oh,
for people to really be able to go in and do that kind of, that personal responsibility piece, but actually seeing that our partners are our mirrors and that
yeah.
everything that comes up, all the triggers, all the things, it's like those are all signs of places that we haven't shown up for ourselves, but then we look to our partners to do those things for us. And it's
Hmm.
like, why would you want to come into a relationship where, it's like you have this long list of things that
Yeah.
you're expecting. Why would you expect anyone else to do anything for you when you are actually your own responsibility, right?
Yeah.
And then you bring your whole self to a relationship, and who doesn't want that? And
Yeah.
so it's just so funny how we think of life, and we continue to have that model, in all of our relationships. But thank you so much for sharing. And I'm curious because of the work that you do. I support chronic pain patients. I do pain coaching for Pain BC. And so
Oh,
because this is your specialty, I'm really curious. I'm starting to see patterns in terms of like, self-worth and just certain patterns. I'm curious if you see those patterns in your clients that you work with and like what are kind of those top patterns in chronic pain specifically.
yeah, no, I definitely see patterns, and I'm glad you brought this up. And I think the fundamental thing, I'm glad you brought this up because I wanted to share this about my healthcare journey too, is is really the self-compassion piece.
Mm,
Because there is somewhere along the way,
yeah.
and I'm not saying this is for everyone, but it's learning that you're just not worth it enough. Like there's something
Mm,
like underlying that, like the reason we're not attending to our needs is because maybe we see ourselves, like it's the shame part, like it's saying that it's not like you did something wrong, you are wrong. Like there's
yeah.
something internal that's missing, that's wrong, that's defective, that puts you at a second rate category.
Yeah.
And I think what really shifts is when we can really love ourselves unconditionally
Yeah.
just for being who we are,
As we are.
as we are,
Yeah.
without having to get any kind of external thing or, fix anything or be anything or get more training or,
Hmm.
because I think, I find this actually for me is, I was a real people pleaser,
Hmm.
perfectionist. I wanted to escape any kind of judgment. I
Yeah.
really, and I was a prime candidate for a chronic pain sufferer, okay, because I had all the traits. And it
Wow.
wasn't until I realized like I didn't have to arrive somewhere or delayed gratification or prove myself.
Hmm.
It was until I just said, you know what, I'm worth it.
Yeah.
God put me on this planet and I am divine energy and I'm just I'm exactly how I need to be, and I'm just going to trust the process that I'm exactly where I need to be.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I see that in my clients, and they actually are a mirror for me to stay on this path too. So I can kind of see like how it keeps reinforcing my journey because it's a practice. It's
It
like,
is.
I mean, it is like brushing your teeth or flossing. It's a daily hygienic practice that to stay on the path,
Absolutely.
and doing this work is actually helps me do that as well. So,
Wow, that's so
yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I absolutely resonate with that. I think it threw me back to the when I first started doing this work, I ran into this hypnotherapist. And again, everything becomes so synchronistic once we
Yeah.
start to prioritize ourselves. Like synchronicity is you can't avoid it. So it's like these happy coincidences keep happening. I remember I looked up a podcast about codependency,
Mhm.
and I heard this doctor, and he was talking about all these different things. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me, that's me, that's me. And then I had this inspiration. I have to contact him to podcast with him. And this was before podcasting was even a thing for me.
Oh,
Right. And
wow.
I think that's what dropped it in my awareness that this is something
Yeah.
that I'm meant to be doing. But it was really, and the work that he offered me was writing down, I am worthy. I am worthy. Every
Oh,
single
wow.
day,
That is so
21 times.
interesting.
Yeah.
So how many times did you write it down? I may want to adopt this.
Yeah, it was 21 times, and he's a hypnotherapist as well, and like this is the work that he does, but it was
Mhm.
21 times and cursive. So
Okay.
cursive, don't skip any lines. 21 times. He said for 21 days. Do you know that I've never reached 21 days without skipping a day? To this day,
And then
because
you just
there's
start
always
over.
something,
Yeah. But now you're
right?
doing it every day basically for how many years?
Now I'm doing it. Well, and so like I stopped the writing practice. I might actually get back into it now that we're mentioning it, because
Yeah.
it was something that really shifts your unconscious mind into that, wait a second, I am actually worthy. And then
Yeah,
it
this is
becomes
all unconscious too. Like we don't rationally think this. It's just programmed in. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Yeah, but
think
it's in every
about,
decision we make.
yeah, it is. It is. I was going to tell you about the 66 days too.
Please.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's also you want to write to create a habit basically for
Mhm.
66 days. So sometimes I recommend doing like a lot of times it's also identity, like you mentioned the patterns. It could be like kind of being fixed on the pain identity or being fixed on being a sick person identity. So creating that separation from the identity can be helpful. And part of that is rewriting the story, like feeling like
Mm.
I'm strong, I'm capable, I can handle this. And having like a mantra or just like a daily writing practice about that. So that's actually very similar to what you described.
I love that. I was going to ask, do you have a pearl or something to offer our audience, an invitation? So that is beautiful. Um, if you were to, and I'm just so grateful. I feel like we could talk about this forever. And I do have a feeling we're going to have a follow-up podcast for sure. But I'm curious if you had something to leave our audience with, just really like holistically kind of circling back. What do you want every single human out there to know or to do, or like an invitation of a different way of being? What would that be?
The top thing that comes to my mind is, and actually, I can't take full credit for this, a dear friend shared this with me, is having a joy journal. So
I love
buying
that.
I'm into journals. So, but buying a pretty journal or even making one and just writing anything that brings joy. It could be anything. It could just be sitting next to your pet, or it could be a beautiful picture you saw, or the sun on your face. Just because our negative bias and our brains wanting us to just stay on this planet and not really survive, I mean not thrive, just
Yeah.
survive,
Yeah.
it's always biasing that. So
Yes.
we don't see those moments as clearly as we could because
Yeah.
of that bias. So I would
Absolutely.
recommend just keeping a joy journal and just writing anything, even if it's silly, even if it's like you got a pumpkin spice latte and you had the first sip and it was just like, oh, this is so good.
Oh, I love
I
that.
know it sounds corny, but we all have our things that we love, right?
I love that. That is alchemy, though. If we really talk about what alchemy is, that is
Mhm.
really being able to focus in on and stay with that juiciness, stay with that energy of like, oh my God, life is so good. And it's like that, it is that moment, right?
Yes.
That moment can actually take us so much further. And again, that's alchemy. When we do some of the somatic work, it's like you go to the shame, you allow it to fully express, but then you elevate it up to that level of, like the really juicy experiences in life and that blissful moment. I love that idea of joy journaling. That sounds, yeah. And then do you take the time when you're joy journaling, do you take the time to bring yourself back to that moment and just like re-experience it?
Yeah, I mean, I just keep it like somewhere visible
Yeah.
and then you just like look through it whenever you want. There and
Yeah.
no pressure. That's the
Yeah.
other thing. This is not a pressure thing because a lot of times we're like, we got to practice this for, our breathing for your breath work, our
That's right.
grounding, meditation. And then it's like you're like, it's too much pressure on the nervous system.
Yes.
And that's a lot of getting out of chronic symptoms that's why we have symptoms is our body is trying to protect us like, hey, pay attention. But then you put more pressure on it, more fear, the symptoms persist. So
That's
this
right.
is really whenever you feel like it, but put it visible. And
Yeah.
then just look at it for even 10 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
oh wow, yesterday was so amazing because I did da da da. Or, I mean, it's very individual, which that's why I love it because
Yeah.
it can be anything. There's no
Yeah.
rules, there's no, you know, and actually the feedback I've gotten from my clients has been so positive that they actually will tell me, "Oh, guess what I put in my joy journal?" Or they'll send me pictures of the journal they got. And it just warms my heart to know that like they're really like it resonated with them.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. And you know, it is evidence-based and it does actually change our unconscious mind to focus on the things that are juicy in life, and we actually then get to experience more of them, right? Because what
Yeah,
we focus on grows. So when
exactly.
we focus even for like a microsecond, we talk about atomic habits all the time, right? That microsecond extra that you spend focusing on something that you're appreciating, that you love, and that you're happy about, that joy, it will bring so much more joy. Like I just love that idea of a joy journal. And for those people, I know when I was teaching, we used to talk a lot about learning styles. So it's not everybody's cup of tea to be
Right.
journaling. So if you're not a journaler, if you're not a read write learner, if you don't love the idea of journaling, if that makes you cringe,
Yes,
you can
definitely.
celebrate joy in different ways, right? You can make a post on your social media about the thing that
Yeah.
you enjoyed, or tell your friend about it, or, you know, even just really for the kinesthetic people that are kind of just really feely, you can just sit in that moment a little bit longer and
Yeah.
just really presence like what is so juicy about life. You
I-
really take time to smell the flowers, right? And so
yeah.
yeah, I really love that that invitation, and just I thank you for your time today. This was so juicy, and I feel like yeah, your energy is just so infectious and so grounding and so present. So if anyone does actually feel called to work with you, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I post a lot on social media, like to just give some tidbits out there. So I'm Rita Mindful Mender on Instagram, and then I have a website coming up, so stay tuned for that. But I have a contact form on there, so you're welcome to, if you have any questions or you want to know more about me, you can just put your information in there and I'll reach out. And it's bodyandmindapproach.com. And it's also listed on my Instagram.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rita. And yeah, I look forward to staying connected. We're obviously we're in the Mystic and the Medicine group together, and I really look forward to creating more of those spaces and connections for people who feel called, that are already serving in healthcare, who just want to connect with others. Like this is not a it's not a paid space. It's literally just let us know that you're interested in connecting, and we'll stay connected because we really do need a community and a support system to remind each other and remind ourselves like yes, it is good to take the extra, minute to breathe before you jump into clinic.
Yeah.
Even those little tiny changes can make a world of difference. So,
So true. And I really appreciate you creating that space. I've benefited so much just from knowing it's there even. Sometimes if there's no
mm,
post, just going in there and knowing there's this community of
mm,
all this talent and positive energy is it's just so beautiful. So thank you for
mm.
creating that for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you for that awareness too. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it doesn't serve its purpose in that
Yeah.
space of just grounded quiet. Like, that's
Exactly.
beautiful. Thank you.
Having a group that I belong to with all these amazing, healers is just so humbling and honoring at the same time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we get so performative, right? It's like, oh, nothing's going on, therefore it's not serving its purpose. It's like, no, wait, that's such a beautiful reminder. Thank you.
So,
Oh, thank you for being here to be such a gift and a light in this world. And, I'm sorry for the journey that had to take you to the point of no return. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to transform that into, one of the greatest gifts probably you've ever experienced. And I'm just so, so grateful for you. So thank you.
oh, thank you so much for that. And I hope for others, they don't have to go through the road I did, but even if they do, just trust that that is what's meant for them and it will work out and there's hope and they're not alone. And they have both of us and this whole community and thank you for being making this podcast so that others can hear it because that takes a lot of courage to do that and I
Thank
appreciate it very much.
Thank you. It was definitely a growth edge for me. I still to this day can't listen to my own work. I can't listen to my podcast. I just won't do it. But I'm so, so grateful that I stepped outside of my comfort zone and so grateful for you for doing the same because I know it's not easy to come and talk about yourself and, like share
Feels
and just
very cringy sometimes, right?
it is a growth edge every single time I hit record. It really is.
Yeah. No,
Thank
I
you.
feel the same way. I'm like, okay, I'm just doing it.
We're just gonna do it. I love
Yes,
it. Well, thank you for being here. And this is the Authenticity Calling podcast. We just get to show up authentically. I
yes,
love
I
it.
love it. Thank you.
Thank you.